Hello and welcome back to Series 3 in Saying It with Impact. And in today's session we're going to be looking at how to make your presentation or your message much more interesting and have much more of an effect on your audience. And the way we're going to look at that today is we're going to use humour. Now humour, as you know, is a brilliant way of opening any speech or any presentation or any keynote speech, just to bring that level down to a pace where people feel comfortable being there and also people feel comfortable listening to your message. So I always use humour to open a speech or presentation, and perhaps that's because I spent 10 years as a stand-up comic. However, it's been very effective in my presentations in the past and also created such impact with my audience that I became a memorable speaker. So my tip to you today is to use humour or something very, very interesting at the beginning of your speech or presentation in order to engage the listener and keep them with you. Now, they say you have about 4 seconds to engage any audience. And in that 4 seconds, it can be the most frightening time of your life, because you've got to think about whether your joke is going to work. You've got to think about whether what you're saying that's interesting to you is interesting to the listener. And in that time, you need to polish that opener. And I recommend you spend a little bit of time before your speech or presentation just working on your opener. Now, during the course of your message, I recommend you also infuse it with a bit of something that's interesting, or again, something that's quite humorous, just to keep them there with you, just to keep them awake. Because we've all been in audiences before where we've watched the listener turn off and just fall asleep. And that's because they've lost interest in what you're saying. So always use something interesting, something humorous, or something exciting to open your presentation or your speech, and then somewhere in the course of that speech or presentation, infuse it again with a bit of humour, something that's very, very interesting, perhaps an important fact that they didn't know, or perhaps something interesting about you that your audience didn't know. Join me again in Series 4, where we'll be looking at how to build rapport with your audience in order to make your presentation or your keynote speech much more powerful. Thank you for joining me.